This video is brought to you by Vmac. Check the link in the description for your vehicle-mounted air compressor. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm in Oklahoma at Cody's shop. He does excavation and land clearing as well, and he had an extra dozer, so I went ahead and bought it from him. If you guys are in eastern Oklahoma, bam, right there, Hammond's Excavation. They do all kinds of work. All right, boys and girls, there she is. She's a Caterpillar D3B. We came back from the cat dealer just now. We checked the numbers on it and everything. She's a 19, what did it say, 1987? 1987. So she's had, she's relatively low hours, but she's had, you know, kind of a little bit of a rough life. And but the things that have needed to be replaced for the main parts have been, but it does have some issues, and we're going to work through those. We need a new pin set up here. We got a kind of a janky pin set up down here, so we're going to go buy those parts and get them slapped on, and then maybe brush her up a little bit, get her a little pretty. She does have a winch on her, and she is just a 3, but for now that's going to be enough for me. But I'm going to leave her here now. Trucking company's coming to pick her up here within a day or two, and then she'll be at the house. Just got the Cat D3 home, and I'm going to show you what I'm about to start working on. This pin right here is missing. I went to Cat before I even bought this thing and said, hey, what do I need to do to get this pin in there? You know, I need to buy a pin. And they said, well, what you got to do is cut all this off and put a new plate in there, because the pin now comes in from the bottom as opposed from the top, and it's a better design, so you got to replace the plate. So that was about 400 bucks for all that. Not a big deal. And then we'll cut this off. So we're going to disconnect everything, slide it forward as soon as I get the parts, and then gouge all that off, cut all that off, and then grind it clean, locate the new parts, put them on where they're exactly where they're supposed to go, and then weld it all back up. I'm really happy with all the undercarriage, so that's good. It's quite expensive. He said it had a leak before I went down there, and I found the leak. Very simple little leak. It's just this little hose. There's a piece is a fix that they never went back and fixed. They probably tore this line, and then they just stuck a little piece of metal in there, and that's actually a piece of wire that's holding that on, so it just cut through. Looks like we got a water separator over there. I'm gonna get that cleaned up, and then it's real dirty in here. You can see it's a pretty much a mess in there, so I got to get all that cleaned up as well. And then, like, she'll fire and run right now, but I got to fill her up with some tranny fluid, because that's the problem. It's using 30 weight transmission fluid. So battery's good. We still don't know about this guy. This is the one thing I didn't test when I was out there. That's just kind of it's pretty beefy. I assumed it worked, so I just, you know, and it's not something that's gonna, I don't ever really use a winch, but it's on there. It's on there for weight too, which I really like. It probably weighs a good 1,000 pounds. It's a hefty chunk of steel. And I think eventually I'd like to paint her, but just like everything else, I'm so busy that I just don't have time to actually, you know, paint her. Pins, a lot of the pins look pretty good, some of them don't. The weird thing is, on all these pins there's no grease zerks at all. So you would look down here and you would say, well, there should be a grease zert in there, but you know, these are Heim joints, so there's not. And there's no threads. There's also paint all the way down into the little hole there, so we're good there. He had said that the cylinders had been like repacked, and you can see right here that they have, and they look good. All the cylinders are working fantastic. He has a soft line here that he temporarily replaced, and the hard line, the new hard line, is actually in the cab. So another thing I don't like is, even though that's tilted, I really am not feeling that. I'm going to put a flapper valve on top, and we're going to go that route. And then she is going to need shortly all new hoses. It's not bad. It's just like where it makes contact right here, there's a little bit of rubbing. And then you can come back here and look at this pin. It's got just the smallest gap right there, and I'm not going to let that get worse. I'm going to go ahead and have new pins made, or purchase pins from Cat. So over winter, we're going to pull the cab off. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff to it and get her nice and operational. But right now, because I'm on a job, I got a bunch of little stuff that I've got to knock out and make her operational. And this is my property. I got a bunch of piles of dirt up here. I was thinking maybe I should move that stuff around, but I really don't want to operate her until I get that pin in the top, because it can cause some issues. Technically, these are all things where you would say, oh man, I don't know about this unit. It seems like it's had a little bit of abuse. Maybe I'll move on, unless the price is right. So from the asking price, it dropped another $4,000. I stopped in the middle. I looked at everything that was wrong with it. Then we went to the Cat dealership. We got all the parts prices. And then I went back over and I showed the guy, like, this is what I have to do to it to not destroy it. And you know, I got cash in hand, and we negotiated for a while. He's a really solid dude, and we got to the bottom dollar. I mean, there was no more left on it, and I feel very comfortable with the price I paid as long as she runs like she's supposed to run. And the engine runs fantastic, and it's got about 3,800 hours on it, so I'm pretty happy with it. We're gonna go get some tranny fluid. It is actually leaking, and I checked this dipstick over here, and it does show low. It's got a new starter, which is good. If it didn't, I'd just take it down to Andrew Camarada's and have him replace it for me. This is a dirt cheap Dozer, baby, and she good. She good. Let's get to work. How'd your new Dozer catch fire? Well, I poured oil all over it. This is why we're setting up the power washer in the back. See how much more we can spill. Go ahead and grab my funnel. I like this kind of funnel because you can put the caps on it, and then you can put it, like, you know, I put it in a box in the back of my truck, and it helps to keep it clean so there's no dirt inside here. Bam, that's what I'm talking about. That looks much better. There we go. Okay. She was making a bunch of noise under the seat, and it was definitely because of the, lack of fluid. So, let's try forward, and get the blade up, and put her in gear. Shifter right here, this is your clutch, and then this guy right here is reverse, forward. This is slow, this is your throttle essentially, rev it, and then this is your blade functions over here, and then this little guy right here is your winch. So up, down, and then all your tilt functions right here, and then tilt functions here. I don't know what that one is. Looks like some kind of a, that looks like the vent fan for that guy. But that's about it. Now I'm gonna get her up to the back of the property and get her ready to start working on her. It's my favorite delivery guy. You throw him right here, brother. We got some Caterpillar parts.
Oh, next day here.
Is that everything?
That two for you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Gotta go on widescreen to get the whole thing in here, but there you go. Cat's inside. Yes. Got a second bushing on the bottom. I bought this big lifting apparatus for next to nothing at a closing store, and I just stuck it under here like that. Give that a couple pulls, and then it settled everything out. So we should be good now. Beautiful. Okay, everything's welding's loose. It did not go as far forward as I thought it would go. I was hoping for a little more, but maybe that means it's not worn. So that's good. I think what we'll do is actually come in here and just torch cut these guys off right now. And then we'll start working on all these little spots. Okay, we got hydraulic lines down here. So I'm gonna throw this welding jacket over them at this old saw blade that'll work. That's while I'm working over here, and then I'll be spraying in different directions. Okay, so I want you to kind of look at this. You can see there's no gouging in there, right? No issues, and I was able to cut like all around there, but I'm not aiming to make my cut on the actual weld. I'm actually aiming to make my cut on the metal, and then it gets to the weld. Hopefully that makes sense for you. If you cut into the weld, you're just going to scar everything, and you can see that if you look there, the metal underneath is great. So now what we got to do is clean that up with a grinder and then weld it back on. Got it all smoothed up, and as you can see there's not a lot of gouging or anything like that. It's pretty clean, just the weld there. We have one little tiny 32nd of an inch gouge there, one here, and that's about it. Ordered some cheap ceramic discs off of Amazon just to see if they would work good enough and save me a little money. You guys know I like that Norton Blaze quite a bit, but these wear out significantly quicker. So I use those ceramics to sharpen my knives on my forestry mulcher, and once they last a few minutes, right? Because I'm really putting the pressure to them, and it's hardened steel, and the knives are big, thick, heavy pieces of metal, so you're removing a lot of material. And once they get down to where they're not 100% effective, like they're not working like they were brand new, I pull them off and I save them for jobs like this, because this still works really well on mild steel, but on hardened steel, it's not as good. So I think this is like 25 bucks for 25. They're like $1 a piece. Still cheaper than I think that's what it was. Maybe it was 50 for 25 bucks. I can't remember. It was really cheap. But I only had to use 2 of them for this. Here's the first one. There's the second one. This one was getting a little too worn. And if that was Norton, it would still cut like the dickens. Okay, we got her measured intact, and this plate is actually just a little bit different size than the other one, but we're still able to get her where she needs to go. Kind of wanted to use the Vmac for this, but if I were to use my Vmac welder, it would just be like because I have it and not like what I would normally do. So I'm actually going to use my MIG on this, and MIG's going to be fine for this application. It's all push and no pull. I'm not ever going to back drag with this guy. I've got other equipment to do that. There's just no point in back dragging, and dozers aren't made to back drag. You can, but that's what happened to this one. That's why everything's ripped off the back. They were abusive to this guy. Welds look good. I mean, there's no issue there, but I don't like the way it's sounding, and I can feel it. I definitely need a new liner. It's time. So I'm gonna finish this up, make a couple more passes on everything after I get it all welded in. We'll do 3 passes on the top too, and rock and roll. Okay, so the weld's going good. That's our final weld right there, and then boom. And I'm gonna show you the scale of this porosity. Look at the size of my finger. We got some grinding to do, boys and girls. The rest of it looks great. I gotta grind all that out. That's why I ground all the paint clean. You really need it to be clean. So something was in there, and it just kept going. Not good. So don't worry, we'll get it fixed. Everything else is welded in pretty good. I like it. I'm gonna get some rattle can cap paint, and I gotta go get some welding wire because the bottom is still halfway welded, and I ran out of wire. So. Okay, I wanted to show you this little tip. This guy right here was kind of like oblong, right? Like it was crushed. And so I just beat it back into place, but it won't really go on here. So I'm gonna push it on there as far as I can get it. Then I'm gonna lay it down, and I'm gonna start tapping all the way around, real gentle. There we go. Now look, now it'll go on. Okay, now you can see how oval she is. So just take her, 180, get a little better. Okay, she's still oblong. You're not going to really be able to tell, but until you try to put her on here, and she will not fit. There's no way that's fitting. So now what we're going to do is force her on. Okay, it's forced on, but now it's really tight. Okay, so take it on a metal table, anvil, something like that. What we're doing is tapping lightly. We're not necessarily beating it into shape, though we kind of are. We're stretching the metal a little bit. Should be able to twist it now. There you go. Still a little tight. Now, tap her on all the way. A little better. We need her all the way on. There we go. A little better. This little end part's flared inward, so that's going to fight us a bit. Okay, got her all the way on there. Now we're going to tap the edge. Perfect. Perfectly circular. Perfectly circular. Got a little knocker loose with some gear oil in there. And this is my own little concoction that I make. You can buy knocker loose in a container. It actually went quite easy. I just had to get the camera out of my way. So let's throw this guy on. I'm gonna go finger tight for now. Okay. It's close.
Slide. Maybe if I'm on this side, I don't know. Because I'm sliding.
Yeah, I can get on this side. Okay. Beautiful. Well, we got all the pins in. It was actually quite easy and not really much of a problem at all. I got to throw this last pin in and it goes inside there. Now, here's where I'm at. I'm not a professional bulldozer tool guy, but I think this is supposed to have something else on it that rides in here. I could be wrong. We're going to throw it in there right now, and I'm going to get online, see what I can find, maybe call Cat and ask them. I think I have a printout. I'll check my printout. Pretty sure I got a printout, and then we'll get this figured out. Okay, we figured out what's going on with that bushing. They did send us a bushing. It was just the wrong one. So I'm on the phone with Holt right now, Caterpillar out of Longview, Texas. They've got one in stock. They're going to put their hands on it, and if that's a go, then we're going to go get it. And we're going to put it on. We're going to do it right. All right, that's better. Let's put it on. Slide her into place.
There it goes.
All right, we're just going to tighten that up, and it'll be all done. Thank you, Sean. Now, back here, I got my shop vac going. I'm going to start cleaning all that out. What a mess. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I got my wand, my Vmac. It's going to get messy. So our next problem is right under here, and you can see that little metal line right there, that hose. That's just a piece of wire wrapped around that hose, so it's leaking. Okay, there's the culprit. Beautiful piece of line, isn't it? Not good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to replace it temporarily with this. I'm going to order the OEM part. It's a hard line, and I think it had some vibration and it broke, so they just cut it here, and then they cut it in the back somewhere up under there. And you can see, I think the line is like, where is it? It's in there somewhere. It's down there, right there somewhere. And I'm just going to go back in. I may have to actually shorten the line because I have no access to actually get inside there to connect this, and I can't screw it to like put a clamp on there or anything. So I might have to shorten it up to this point right here so that I can reach in here and actually do the work. So, all right, there she is. Turns out this is a return line, it looks like. And she ran fine without it and didn't put any pressure out. So anyway, now we're just going to connect these two. The other one's like right here somewhere. And where is it? Right there. Connect that to that and we're done. All right, we're going to go ahead and throw 2 hose clamps on this one like it was, because this is not the proper way to fix this, but it is just a return line. But obviously it had enough pressure to over time degrade that. It's probably the diesel itself, and they didn't use the rated style line, but we've got the right stuff, the right line, but you just don't know. Got the Cat D3B back in the shop, and we're going to replace the front cutting edge. So under the bottom, we just have a bunch of bolts that need to be broken loose. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Throw the impact on them, get them rocking and rolling, and then probably break out the Vmac to weld on the end pieces. And I don't understand, like, these weren't bolted in. They don't bolt into the other one. They're welded in, and I think that's how we're going to have to do that on the other blade, which is a problem for flipping it. It means I'm probably going to have to weld in the last 2 bolts because they're behind here. So it doesn't make sense to me that this is this way. This is made this way. But this is the blade that I ordered for the new one, off the numbers and everything that go on here. And it's the only blade they have that has the same hole pattern. So this is how it came, or this is how I got it. And then when I went to order parts from Cat, it actually has the same setup. So I'm assuming it's correct, even though it just doesn't feel right, because these, I think, should be bolt holes. But that's what it is. Okay, all of our bolts are cut off on the bottom all the way across. Now let's grab a hammer and see if we can't knock this thing loose. Okay, that looks much better. The angle kicks out a lot further. This is how it's supposed to be. And I'm not going to bore you with putting the bolts on. Corners are tacked and clamped in place, and we'll weld that one on.
The red dirt's called Select. Got a clay mix in it, packs down really well, and it's what they use around here for house foundations and pads and stuff. So, gonna get it dumped. Justin's going to get his dozer down there and get that pile pushed over here.
Well, the dozer is working fantastic. It's cutting. I've done a lot more stuff with it since, you know, this little pad build right here. We've leveled off this land, setting a slab and moving this cabin over here today to this location right here. And then a house is going in on the other side of that big red truck. So guys, that's it for the video. I'm pretty happy with the dozer. If you want to see more videos of like the work that actually went into making this land flat, or any of the other stuff we're doing, like pond build maybe or something like that, let me know in the comment section. And don't forget, check out that Vmac, and there's a link in the description. We'll see you next round.